Good morning to all of you out there. Welcome to the program Agenda. I'm Cito Beltran, and you are watching us via Signal TV, channels 8 and 250. And for those of you who don't have Signal as of yet, mag-subscribe na po kayo. At pansamantala, you can watch us via facebook.com/onenewsph or go to YouTube and type in One News PH. Today is August 26, 2020, Wednesday po. Sinisigurado ko na kasi kahapon yung August naging September. August lang po. But in what? 4 or 5 days, it's going to be bear months for the traditional Filipino nag-aabang ng bear months. Sorry, but I don't think it's going to be the same. Although nagbabanta si Jose Marichan na lalabas na siya, I don't think the bear months are going to be the same. Although I did post on Facebook on my account and I asked the question, will there be Christmas this year or should we just throw away all of the Christmas cards? And you know what? Ang fighting pilit ng Pilipino matindi. Sabi nila, hindi kami papayag na walang Christmas at walang Noche Buena. Okay, so today, just so that you know, we are going to schedule a group of individuals who I think will give us, the story behind the story. Unahin natin mamaya si Chel Diokno, Chairman, Free Legal Assistance Group. And if you remember, siya yung grupo ng mga tumakbo ng Senadong hindi nagwagi. Tatanungin ko rin, natutuwa ba siyang hindi siya nagwagi kasi sa dami ng problema? And how would he assess those individuals who actually made it to the Senate? How would he evaluate their performance? Because that seems to be the name of the game now. Kumbaga, parang merong nagse-second guess. You have the government doing its job or its work for anti-COVID, and you have the office of the vice president, parang parang echo, pero ibang klaseng echo, may correction. Sinasabing, okay yan, pero dapat gawin nyo ganito. Sabi ni Presidente, hindi na nga kayo nakakatulong, makakagulo pa kayo. In any case, after Chel Diokno, we will speak with Edmund Tayao, political analyst. Pag-usapan natin lahat itong mga nangyayari sa ating lipunan. We'll find out what his assessment is of the current political situation. Some people are saying that it is like a deja vu. Deja vu. Para raw, napanaginipan ko na ito. Parang nadinig ko na ito. Parang nakita ko na ito nung panahon ni Marcos. We'll talk to both Edmund and to Chel regarding that. And Alan Tanjusay, dapat po guest natin siya nung isang kahapon, pero medyo na-close open tayo nung speech ng Presidente. So we will now speak to Alan regarding the state of labor and regarding the youth. Now, let's move on to today's program. Here are the stories from the front page of the Philippines Star. President Duterte believes that it's best for PhilHealth President and Chief Executive Officer Ricardo Morales to vacate his post, according to Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara. Guevara said that the president stated this after taking note of Morales' on and off health situation. Guevara also disclosed that Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea has spoken to Morales and that Morales had said he would understand if he had to be replaced. PhilHealth is currently in hot water over the corruption allegations. The Philippine National Police, or PNP, has beefed up its security in various areas in the country, including Metro Manila, following the twin bombings in Jolo, Sulu last Monday. The said blasts killed 14 people and left dozens injured. PNP Deputy Chief for Operations Lieutenant General Guillermo Eleazar ordered police commanders in Metro Manila and other cities to intensify their security measures in checkpoints while also conducting patrol operations. Due to low enrollment, at least 440 private elementary and high schools will suspend operations for this school year, says the Education Department. According to DepEd data, most of these schools are in Region 3 with 88 schools suspending operations, followed by Region 4A with 67 schools and Metro Manila with 54 schools temporarily closing down. Aside from low enrollment, these schools are not opening due to the high cost of the blended learning setup. And the Philippine Airlines, AirAsia are offering low fares to various domestic destinations in the country to boost local travel. For PAL, passengers can book a base fare for as low as 688 pesos to travel to cities like Clark and Cebu. For AirAsia, guests can enjoy all-in one-way fares for as low as 111 pesos for domestic flights. The aviation industry is one of the hardest hit sectors as local international restrictions brought by the pandemic continue to impede travelers. Okay, baka nahalata nyo para akong natawang nagpigil, tumawa nung binabasa ko yun dun sa PAL, ano? Kasi po, meron ngang discount papunta naman Cebu. Hindi ba Cebu kasing tindi rin ng Metro Manila regarding COVID cases. Although the good news is, according to our news items and the inside page of the Philippine Star, the COVID cases in Cebu are slowly going down. Bravo! Your sacrifices are beginning to bear fruit. Now, let me just, kanina kasi medyo parang nadidistract ako. Ang hirap pag dadalawa mata, pero ang binabasa mo tatlo, no? Yung pong front page story, yung tungkol dito kay President Rick Morales ng PhilHealth, medyo ito yung sinasabi ko, matagal ko na pong sinasabi to. And sinabi rin ng maraming mga media, no? Yung revolving door policy dyan sa PhilHealth, medyo nakakapagtaka na it is, it's really beginning to become a big issue, not just the corruption in PhilHealth, but the fact that the government, the Duterte administration's policy with PhilHealth is revolving door. Maglalagay, after 9 months, manganganak ng corruption, mapapagbintangan yung nilagay, papalayasin yung nilagay, papalitan na naman ng bago na magna 9 months, ewan ko ba, parang baby factory ng corruption allegation. Yun po sinasabi ko, no? Baby factory ng corruption allegation. Bakit kanyo? Ilalagay mo dyan, sasabihin mo, matino, mabait, magaling. After 9 months, resign ka na lang kasi ano raw mahina ka raw. O, sakiting ka daw. Or may corruption daw. Yun nga po, no? With Rick Morales, sinasabi yung on and off health. Kasi nga naman imbis kumuha tayo ng bata, we should have gotten young, competent professionals. And this is no commentary on retirees, ano? Nililinaw ko lang po because I basically would qualify as one. But the thing is, this is a major health institution. This office holds billions and billions of pesos. Bakit tayo naglalagay ng mga retired na? And I emphasize on the part tired. Kanya pagod na yan sa paninilbihan sa gobyerno, isasalampak ninyo dyan. Pagkatapos, pag hindi kinaya, kasi ang daming mga kumukontra, tatanggalin natin. Alam niyo po, anuin ko lang, no? Pasensya ka na, Gab, Chel, sandali lang, ha? Tatapusin ko lang ito. Alam niyo po, yung PhilHealth, nagmumukha ng the new customs. For many of you who don't know what I'm talking to, the Bureau of Customs historically has been like a menu na pinagpipilian ng mga interest groups ng mga senador, congressman. Historically, hindi ko naman sinasabi lahat ngayon, ganun pa rin. Pero may mga simbahan, may mga kung sino-sino na gustong maglagay ng kani-kanilang tao dyan sa customs. Bakit? Siyempre, kurakot. Gusto, pagdating ng Biyernes, may darating na pera. Dito sa PhilHealth, hindi pa naman natin alam kung paano talaga ginagawa, pero mukhang ganun na nga. Mukhang ito na yung the new customs that everybody wants their finger in, their pie, their cut. So, ayan, kailangan po mag-legislate itong mga senador, itong mga congress. Huwag kayo puro investigate. Puro kayo investigate. Nagpapapogi lang kayo, pumapapil lang kayo. Bay, kasuhan ninyo, hindi yung we are filing recommendations. It's not our job. You're still citizens of the Republic. You still can file a case if you really believe you have a case. But more than that, come up with laws that make it easy or easier to terminate these people. Because in the last so many years, I have heard attempts by all the previous presidents of PhilHealth trying to terminate mga official and mga employees dyan sa PhilHealth na walang kurakot, hindi nila magawa. Alam niyo kung bakit? Tatakbo sa Civil Service Commission. Hindi naman po konsentidor yung Civil Service Commission. However, the Civil Service Commission has to defend the rights of these employees. Alam nyo, ang problema dito, puro rights na lang. So yung rights na yon can keep them in place for 20 years. Di ba? Ayun, no? Meron nga pinag-uusapan kanina sa radyo sa Double B. Yun daw, nagkaroon ng dancing queen sa opisina ng isang regional official. Paano mo tatanggalin yun? Tatakbo sa Civil Service Commission. Okay, naliligaw ako. Puntahan muna natin yung bisita natin. Kaya naman, nagkanyaya tayo, wala nga pakape. Okay, Attorney Chel Diokno, nandiyan ka na ba, my friend?
Yes, good morning, Cito. Good morning, everyone.
Okay. Diyan ako bilib sa yung mga Diokno. Kayong mga Diokno, napakakalma nyo lagi. Good morning. Good morning. Maski na yung tatay mo, ganyan. Napakakalma. Ako dito, mainit na ulo ko. Ikaw, kalma ka pa rin dyan. Okay, Attorney Chel, what's your sentiment? Di ba, kasama ka dun sa grupo na tatakbo dapat ng Senate, ginulpi kayo, pinagtulungan kayo, pagkatapos yung ticket nyo ay matapos matalo, kumbaga nilait-lait pa kayo. Pero ngayong you are now watching from the gallery, do you feel relieved that you weren't part of this situation?
Well, in one sense, yes, but in another sense, no.
Okay. The floor is yours, Mr. Senator Sana.
I think that yes. Masaya naman isipin na hindi ako nakikipag-away dun sa mga ibang nakaupo ngayon sa Senado. But at the same time, I think I miss the opportunity to really push address the real problems that our country is facing. Kasi dito, lalo na dito sa ilalim ng pandemya, parang nililihis tayo parate doon sa tunay na problema ng bayan. And that really concerns me. For example, you have Congress taking up the anti-terror bill and then the death penalty rather than addressing the pressing issues of the economy and the health that we really should be the priorities for our legislature. Kaya ako ay nalulungkot na ganun nga ang nangyayari sa ating Congress.
Okay, now I think this filing of this petition in the Supreme Court is your first legal action in a big way. Why file the anti-terror petition?
Well, our main thrust in our petition is really the effect of the anti-terror law on freedom of speech. Because very clear new law that they have created a new crime called inciting to terrorism, very much like the crimes that we know that we call inciting to sedition and inciting to rebellion. These are known as speech crimes. In other words, just by saying something publicly, you can already be arrested, prosecuted, and jailed. And it has really, it is concerning not only to us, but to all of the petitioners who joined our petition. Our petitioners include educators, journalists, people who do a lot of social media communications, because it causes us to self-censor. Kasi syempre, we tend to think twice, is this going to result in my being arrested for inciting to terrorism? And you know, those in favor of the law keep saying, oh, you shouldn't be afraid, only terrorists should be afraid of this law. Well, my answer to that is, as you mentioned, soon after we lost the elections, we were actually charged with inciting to sedition, including Vice President Leni Robredo and 7 of the 8 Ocho Derecho candidates. We were charged with inciting to sedition when we had nothing to do with any seditious acts. And in fact, it took about 6 months before we were eventually exonerated by the Department of Justice. But during those 6 months, it was we had to suffer the indignity of being respondents and trooping to the Department of Justice, submitting counter affidavits and so forth. So it's not true that only those who are involved in these criminal activities could be charged with these offenses. And given the very nebulous definition of terrorism in the anti-terror law, it's very, very likely that people will be charged who have nothing to do really with terrorism.
Okay, Attorney Chel, I'm just wondering, hindi mo ba naisip na mag-file ng demanda rin after you were cleared? Because nawiwili, maraming mga sip-sip, maraming mga akala nila madali lang mag-file ng kaso and then okay. Kumbaga nagpapapogi ba? Kakasuhan ko itong mga to para pag nadinig ng Malacanang, makakuha ako ng promotion. But I know for a fact that ewan ko, ikaw yung abogado, hindi ako, no? Pero alam ko pwede kayong mag-file ng nuisance, ng complaint na kinasuhan kayo ng nuisance suit. Yung dinemanda kayo para perwisyohin kayo. Or yung malicious, ano ba yun? Malicious prosecution or imputation of a crime. 'Di ba? Ewan ko kasi alam mo, natutunan ko 'yan, no? May gago na gumawa sa akin 'yan eh. Talagang sabi ko, sige, demanda niyan para magtanda 'yan. Malicious imputation of a crime. Have you ever done that? Because I think it's about time that people should push back kasi iba yung dinemanda ka na may dahilan. Iba yung dinemanda ka para perwisyuhin ka.
Yes, those charges could be filed. It's it's a cost-benefit analysis really. Kung sino yung kakasuhan mo naman, for example, in those cases of inciting to sedition, yung mga nag-file sa amin ng kaso, puro mga maliliit lang na PNP officials yan eh. So I don't even want to give them a platform. To me, it's already water under the bridge. I'm more interested in pushing back in terms of the pressing issues like the anti-terror law.
Yeah, well, I respect that, no? It's just that I've seen this because that's precisely the issue there. In other countries, when the authorities realized that people will fight back in court and sila yung maapektuhan yung kanilang retirement, yung kanilang promotion, medyo magdadalawang isip ng gumawa ng katarantaduhan. I'm sorry, I'm being very verbally graphic here because yun yung point ko. I agree with you eh. Yung harassment, yung intimidation. My father, your father, Ninoy Aquino, they were all subjected to that, and we as the children suffered tayo yung collateral damage eh. And it still persists to this day. In any case, sige, so ang fight mo, the anti-terror bill. Do you believe that the Filipinos fully appreciate and understand the consequences of this bill? Kasi parang nagtataka ako eh, mas pinoproblema pa nila yung order nila sa Shopee kaysa yung petition ninyo sa SC.
I don't know if really everybody understands it. Kasi the one habit that we have as a people is pagdating sa mga legal matters, we just leave it to the lawyers. But I myself have been trying availing of every opportunity to really let people know why this bill is why the law is so dangerous. In the first place, itong issue ng prolonged detention. Under the Constitution, you can only be detained for 3 days, even when the state of martial law is declared or the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus is suspended. If you're arrested, you can only be detained for 3 days without a charge against you. But under this new terror law, that you could stay in jail for 24 days without any charges, and the one who will authorize your detention will not be a court, but will be the Anti-Terror Council, which is composed of executive officials who answer directly to the president. So that's why, in our view, the safeguards that should be in that law are not there. And that really makes it so susceptible to abuse.
Okay, not to mention the fact that there is parang jumping the gun nga, so to speak eh. Kasi yung chief ng AFP, I forgot his name, but he was already insinuating that the anti-terror bill should extend its coverage to social media. And now you have the army chief ba yun, sa Sulu asking for martial law to be declared. Parang 5-5 na lang, parang napaka-ordinaryo na lang na gumawa ng mga declaration without considering the impact and the severity of this declaration, such as martial law or restricting social media. Now, there are 29 groups that petition. What do you have in common? Ano ba yung one thing na talaga nagkakasundo kayo and mukhang baka yun ang papansinin ng Supreme Court?
Ay palagay ko yung issue ng freedom of speech, because really the cornerstone of our democracy is freedom of speech. When you remove freedom of speech from our country, you cannot call our country a democracy anymore. And the problem with this law is that it regulates speech based on content. And you mentioned the comments of the AFP Chief of Staff, si Gapay.
Yeah.
He did mention that they want to regulate content on social media. And that is exactly a prior restraint. And that is what the court has long been saying is not allowed because it violates the Constitution. That is our major concern that we have, that this law will be used to restrict speech, not only online, but all kinds of speech, even in real time. Ang nakakatakot kasi dyan is it's so easy to use the law to go after critics of the administration or those perceived to be against or anti the present administration. If you recall, even the UP Cebu students who had gone on a protest against the anti-terror bill had been branded by one government official as terrorists, simply for going out and expressing their opinion. And that is the danger there, that those who are seen to be against the policies of the government will be branded as terrorists and then subjected to these kinds of abuses.
Yeah, thinking forward, no, I'm worried about the situation, and I think our viewers should worry and should really research this. Kasi just this week, the military in Thailand actually called the attention or communicated to Facebook that certain criticisms or criticism of the monarchy is unacceptable. It cannot be tolerated, and they forced Facebook to shut down a particular site with 1 million followers who were hindi naman sila sasabihin mo kaaway ng hari ng Thailand, pero open thinker sila mga free thinker sila. So they were being critical of certain activities or practices. And Facebook had to maybe for commercial concerns or whatever, they actually shut down that site but said in a colatilla or a conditional pronouncement, this is bad for freedom of speech. This is bad for the community. So, alam mo, sabi nga nila, parang kakambal natin sa hintuturo o sa tuhod yung Thailand eh. Pag may nangyayari sa Thailand o sa Pilipinas, parang nangyayari vice versa. What's your reaction to this?
Well, we have already monitored incidents here that have been direct violations of basic rights. You've seen, I'm sure, the netizens who were arrested without warrant, pinuntahan sa bahay, kinatok yung pinto nila, inuli na walang warrant, dinala sa NBI o sa police. And then
Yun ba yung mga naging critical o nagawa ng meme tungkol kay Senator Bongo at nag-complain si Bongo dun sa NBI at nagkadamputan na kagad?
Iba pa yun. The one I'm speaking of is a teacher who had made some posts on Facebook. He was arrested by the NBI, brought here to Manila from up north, and then charged with inciting sedition. We're just fortunate that when the case reached the court, the judge handling the case said he threw it out. Sabi niya, wala naman basis ito. Then you have about 17 others similarly who were subpoenaed by the NBI na wala naman silang ginawa kundi nag-post lang sa Facebook. Then you have the cases of those who have been criticizing Bongo. I understand that he had requested the NBI as well to investigate these people. So there's a very clear pattern to silence online speech. And
what is your group planning to do about it? You know, you're a group of 20. You are an aggregation of 29 groups or petitioners. Most of you, if not all of you, are lawyers or educators. One would think this is not going to end here. Whatever the Supreme Court decides, I'm almost sure that these cases, these charges, these allegations will keep happening even beyond the Duterte administration. I'm sure that it will happen because, you know, all it takes is one ambitious guy or one legally illiterate idiot to presume, oh, you're inciting to sedition or ikaw Beltran, rebelde ka. Are you planning to put together a group? Katulad, you remember the group of sila Sagisag, sila Butch Aquino, yung bang parang mga lawyers na nagsama-sama para ipagtanggol yung mga tao na naapi ng kung basta-basta na lang nakakasuhan.
There are already a number of groups.
I know Flag is one, but
Flag is one. I also belong to CLCL, the Concerned Lawyers for Civil Liberties, which is a broad-based group of lawyers. And there are a number of other groups that are also providing that kind of pushback. And it's so important, I think, that, as you mentioned, we need to also use the law to protect our rights. Kasi kung minsan ang nangyayari ngayon na-weaponize yung law at ginagamit nila panikil para manahimik ang taong bayan.
Okay, well, last question ko na lang, Chel, kasi yung best friend kong si Soljen Jo CALIDA, ex-best friend, sabi, wag na raw magkaroon ng oral arguments dahil baka may COVID-19, etc. tungkol sa mga petition ninyo. Ano ba yan? Strategy lang yan or what? How do you read that?
I don't really understand where that's coming from. Kasi kung ang ground niya ay yung COVID, we can always do the oral arguments online. And it's so easy for the court to do it in an organized manner. Even if you have 29 petitions, the court could set several hearing dates and require us to argue in batches. So wala akong nakikitang sagabal sa pag-conduct ng oral argument. But having said that, this is really a discretionary thing on the part of the court. However, in cases like this, where you have such important issues to be resolved, it's unprecedented that no oral arguments will be held. If you recall, yung kaso ng libingan ng mga bayani, yung burial ni Marcos, and all succeeding cases that were very controversial, for example, the cases of the martial law extension and so forth, lahat yon ay nagkaroon ng oral argument. So we still expect that the court will conduct on this case.
Okay, well, I do hope that the outcome will truly be legal, fair, and acceptable and protects the rights of everyone. Kasi po, ang batas at ang mga desisyon ng korte ay mahaba, panghabang buhay, ika nga nila yung epekto. Thank you very much, Chel, and please continue being courageous. Please, and sana medyo pakinggan mo rin yung suggestion ko. Pamisa-misa, sampulan din nyo sila. Kasi gusto nila tayo lang tayo sinasampulan. Siguro pag nakatikim sila ng may kaso at hindi sila makakuha ng retirement pay nila, magdadalawang isip na silang gumagawa nitong mga nuisance suit. Thank you very much, Chel Diokno.
Thank you, Cito. Have a good day.
Okay, that's our friend, Attorney Chel Diokno. Alam niyo po, sa matagal ko nang sinasabi ito, no, wala po akong kulay. Color blind po ako. Bagamat ako'y mukhang nasusunog sa araw dahil nagtatrabaho tayo, ito po, no, I have no political loyalties or inclinations, but we have to realize the law and the decisions of the court will go beyond us. Patay na tayo, yung batas nandoon pa rin. Kung yung batas ay lihis legislation, ay maraming mapaparusahan o marami ring papahirapan doon sa mga lihis na batas. Huwag po tayong papayag na yung batas malihis. It goes, alam nyo, sabi ko, ako ngayon naglalaba ako no? Sorry, I'm just kind of relating to my reality. Kupas na yung pula, kupas na yung dilaw, kupas na yung asul, okay? Nandiyan pa rin yung batas na yan. Wala na si Presidente Duterte, wala na yung mga Aquino, yung mga kung sino-sino sa gobyerno, pero yung batas na yan, nandiyan pa rin yan. Kung yung batas ay may butas, ang Pilipino, si Juan de la Cruz, ang magpapasan ng krus. We will go for a quick break and we will be right back here on Agenda. Okay, we're back here on agenda and ako po ay sumiset up lang dito kasi medyo mahirap itong work from home situation. In any case, kanina when I read the news earlier, I read about the schools that were going to suspend operation. Baga hindi nila masabing magsasara sila. 440 private elementary high schools will suspend operation. Ngayon ito lang po panawagan natin sa ating mga tiga DepEd, sa ating mga tawag nito ating mga legislators. Perhaps it is now time for us to study this setup. COVID-19 has made us realize just how badly we forgot about the health system, how we allowed the health system to deteriorate. We didn't build new hospitals in the last so many decades, etc. Major hospitals po, no? And we allowed, private. O ngayon, yung mga private nangangamote kasi wala silang mga nurse, kasi yung mga nurse sila nag-aalisan dahil mas malaki raw ang sweldo sa public o kaya sa abroad. Now, same thing with schools. We had a balance, a healthy balance, but COVID-19, nagkaroon tayo ng disaster, o ngayon biglang shutdown. I think it's about time we should also assess, evaluate the financial capabilities, the solvency of schools. Kasi po, I know they're not like banks. Yung mga, di ba, mga thrift bank, mga provincial banks, talaga sinasala yan ng central bank. Kaya ba nilang hawakan yung pera ng depositor at alagaan yung kanilang mga assets? Same thing with private schools. We should really tighten up on this because alam nyo, end of the day, kawawa yung estudyante. Hindi, everyone say, ay kawawa naman yung school nagsara. Hindi po, ang kawawa yung mga estudyante, ilang daan, ilang libong estudyante, how many students are now going to be in a quandary. It's like, where are we going to enroll? What about our history with this school, our grades, etc., our track record? Meron po, alam niyo po, lahat na estudyante, meron ganun meron siyang record na dala-dala niya through his life or her life in school. Tapos biglang magsasara yung eskwelahan ninyo. And I've seen the impact, the emotional and psychological impact of these closures on students. Now we're talking about 440 schools to suspend enrollment. Okay lang, sige, suspend 1 year. Paano kung magtuloy-tuloy? Kung hindi nga kumita, wala ngang kita ngayon, nagtigil ngayon. Ano pang batayan para babalik sila next year? Medyo aralin po natin yan. Kasi alam niyo, yan ang lesson sa atin. Education is a vocation. It is not a business. Ginawa niyong negosyo, ayan, nung tinamaan, lahat tayo sama-sama disgrasya. Okay, let's now go to our next guest. We have with us Edmund Tayao at siya po ay political analyst, director of the Local Government Development Foundation. He is also a faculty member of the Ateneo School of Government. Professor, magandang umaga po.
Magandang umaga po sa inyo.
Gustong-gusto ko yung look mo na yan, Professor. Talagang cool na cool ka. Work from home ka talaga.
Work from home talaga.
Okay. In any case, Professor, thank you for joining us this morning. And I just wanted to get a deeper insight of things. No? Kasi nung lumabas si Vice President Leni Robredo no isang araw, parang okay lang, sige, she's trying to keep her public presence, she's trying to give her input to the media and to share her thoughts to the people out there. Tapos biglang lumabas naman itong si Presidente Duterte. may mga pilyo na nagsabi sa akin, Cito, di ba parang deja vu yan? Natatandaan mo nung panahon ni Marcos, nung kumalat itong mga kwento-kwento na may sakit si Marcos, bigla nagpakita pa ng litrato sa front page si Marcos na half body, pinapakita niya ang ganda ng katawan niya, etc. Ano ba ito? Tapatan? Was this an attempt to dispel rumors, or are we beginning to see parang sagutan na of Malacanang and the office of the Vice President?
Well, Sito, I don't think there was an announcement noon yun na nga, there will be a pronouncement by the President yesterday, no?
Yeah, wala.
Oo, walang announcement. Pero nung last week pa, dire-diretso ang meeting nila sa Davao. I know this because I've been keeping tab also of the decisions that they're going to make, particularly dito sa talagang napakalaking skandalo ng PhilHealth, no? To be honest with you, of course, syempre nako-consult din tayo every now and then, not only by the government but even an ongoing project to roll out, no, the Mandanas ruling. Alam ko na talagang iniimbestigahan ito dati pa. Talagang nahirapan talaga ang gobyerno, ang pangulo dito sa customs, no? At banggit din niya ito doon sa kanyang press conference. Alam ko na nagmi-meeting din sila kasi talagang regular yung pag-report ng mga miyembro ng gabinete. Nakita din natin ito nung nagsalita ang Pangulo nung madaling araw. Talagang actually nung inimbita ko ng programa ninyo, sabi ko hindi ko natapos yung buong broadcast, no, kasi siyempre late na, no. So nung nakita ko, akala ko all the while hanggang kay Secretary Bello lang yung nag-report, hindi pala, no? Kung hindi karamihan ng mga miyembro ng gabinete na involved dito sa COVID-19, sa pandemic, pinagsalita ng Pangulo.
Now, okay, we both agree. Hindi scheduled yung presentation ng Presidente kahapon. But then, of course, that's his privilege. If he wants to, he can do it. Kaya lang parang biglang I think what got people's attention was yung nagsalita ang Presidente at in-address na niya yung pagsasalita ni Leni Robredo, ni VP Leni, na hindi kayo nakakatulong. What's your take on that? Should it be open-minded, or do you think the president is not getting the full picture? Palagay ko naman napanood na yun.
I think the president, when you ask if the president is getting the full picture, I have to say any president is dependent on what the people near him tells him. No? And if this was not the case, I mean, he himself was mentioning a particular member of the customs, no, the Bureau of Customs.
Yeah.
Matagal niyang gustong tanggalin. So, tinanong pa niya, bakit ang tagal hindi matanggal-tanggal diyan? And that he even mentioned, no, for some reason, he was surprised that he was a board member apparently of a bank, even if he's part of the bureau. No, so sa madalit sabi, precisely because of the system, can you imagine the president appointing about 30,000 or more officials in government? No? Masyadong spoiled based ang gobyernong ito. And again, of course, I've been a member of the consultative committee. I've been one of those pushing for a true system reform for the longest time. In fact, when I started, sabi ko, kayang-kaya yan. Ngayon, jaded na rin ako Yun nga lang local government code, hindi mo ma-revise precisely because it's a very divisive issue. Now, going back, in other words, in relation to what the Vice President is saying, lahat ng sinabi niyang puntos ng mga very specific proposals, maganda, lalo na dito sa contact tracing, involvement in the private sector. In fact, I've been friends with Region 6, for example, no?
Was there anything new? Was there anything new, Edmond, regarding what the Vice President said? Kasi nung ni-review ko, sabi ko, yeah, they're all okay, but they're all out there. They're all being done one way or another by someone. Parang ang
Yeah.
mas tiningnan ko, and that's why I'm turning to you as the political analyst. What I was paying more attention to was the framing. Kasi communicator ako, I teach communication. Yung
Yeah.
pagka-frame sa kanya, pagka-makeup sa kanya, and then yung pag-announce niya, sabi
Ayoko na
ko,
banggitin yan eh.
no?
Ayoko nang banggitin yung pagka-frame and everything, pati suot niya, my goodness. Anyway,
Yeah. But my point is this. Was the presentation of Leni Robredo intended to come up with someone presidentiable?
yes.
Okay, so yes.
It was
And then was this in reaction to the rumors that President Duterte is seriously ill?
Alam mo yung sakit ng presidente matagal na yan Cito eh, and in his age, I mean it's already a given that he's sick, and you know we have a very personalistic politics, and you've mentioned this already. Not in fact hindi lang kay Marcos nangyari ito. Nangyari ito nung panahon ni FBR, if you remember, pinakita pa niya yung kanyang sugat nung inoperahan siya. O, nangyari din ito kay dating Presidente Noynoy Aquino, nawala din siya ng ilang araw at bibinalita din na kailangan niya magpahinga for a while. So madali sabi, this is not something, the point is, whether yun mamatay ang presidente o hindi, ready ba yung sistema natin? Hindi ba tayo magkakaroon ng vacuum at least for a day or two? Yun yung problema, no? Na hindi masyadong pinagtutuunan ng pansin. Kaya nga kanina, naputol ako doon sa reforms. So tinatanong mo ko ano yung bago. Sa akin, dalawa lang yung bagong sinasabi ng Vice Presidente, yung linyada o yung coordination, collaboration between the national and local government, which is long overdue. No? Long overdue. Na ilagay dyan, recommendations valid. Hindi naman lahat, kaya nga hinihimay natin. No? Medyo ano na ako dyan sa mga byline eh. Madalas, iba yung sinasabi mo, iba yung lumalabas doon sa So anyway, ang tawag dito, yun yung hindi nagsisisihan pa eh. O katulad yung database system na sinasabi ng Vice Presidente. Fine, okay, but have we not learned from the National Household Targeting System, which was set up also in the previous administration?
Yeah.
There's even a law, Cito, no, which has a very, to my mind, no, very onerous provision, which says only nationally collected data are considered quote-unquote official data. Alam mo, mapping na lang Cito. Hindi natin makumpleto yung mapping because you have to do mapping simultaneously. Kasi alam mo, nagbabago din ang geological features eh. Siyempre, nagumalaw naman ang mundo, no? So, in other words, hindi mo pwedeng sabihin na magde-database ka hindi mo sustain ito, no? Yun lang census nakalagay every 3 years mag-census tayo. Hindi man nasusunod, no? Minsan every 5 years, minsan after 8 years pa. So to make the long story short, hindi talaga pwedeng centralize siguro in terms of safekeeping and pag-collate ng data, but the populating data dapat in coordination with the local government. Para hindi nagsisisiyan, no? Alam mo yung nangyari sa TAP. Sinisi ng DSWD yung LGU. Pero yun na nga dapat may coordination. Maganda yung sinabi ni BP na talagang doon pabor na pabor ako. I-involve mo yung private sector. At ito nga yung binabanggit ko kanina, no? Alam mo, maganda yung ginawa sa Negros. Yung sa Negros kasi parang institutional na yung partnership between the private and the public sector. Do you know that PCCI Region 6 is a member, or the Chambers of Commerce in Region 6, no, in Negros Island, is part of the IATF there? And when I asked them, and I interviewed them in my online program, when I asked no less than the president, no, my good friend, Attorney Edward Du, sabi ko, yung bang IATF structure ninyo, anong pinagbasihan ninyo? Sabi niya sa akin, Prof, sabi niya, it's a reflection of the national structure. So sinunod lang namin yung composition sa national. So sabi ko, sabi ko ganun, so PCCI or the Chambers of Commerce are also members of the National IATF. Doon siya nangiti. Sabi niya, hindi. So sabi ko, alam mo kung bakit importante yun, Cito? Yung naging meeting ng mga doktor na nag-request sila na ibalik tayo sa ECQ kasi nga medyo stressed na yung health sector. And you've mentioned, no? Yun na nga, ang dami puro private hospitals, hindi naman nila kayang gampanan, no? Yung demand nitong pandemic. Na-anticipate noong struktura na yon, it's the private sector that now assisted, no? Regardless whether public or private hospitals, no? Yung pangangailangan nitong ospital na to, talagang in-anticipate na nila. So hindi, kumbaga, hindi nila na-reach yung level na masyadong strained yung mga hospitals or yung health sector. Tayo reactive tayo dito sa Manila, no? At you've said it already. I mean, to my mind, it's capitalism gone wild. Everything is run by, I don't know even if we can call it simply laissez-faire. So, yun. Maganda yung mga mensahe nyo. Pero yun na nga, pag tinignan mo yung basis lang ng Vice Presidente, no? Nasabi niya, kasi yun talaga inabangan ko. Kasi sabi ko, maganda din kasi yung ginagawa ng OVP, no, pagdating sa pag-assist sa mga frontliners. And so talagang kumbaga proactive yung ginagawa naman ng OVP, to be fair. Pero yung sasabihin mo sa akin na bago pa dumating yung pandemic, bagsak na yung ekonomiya, medyo hindi naman yata. Parang masyadong sundot na yun eh. Ang akin ganito, fine. I was in another interview last night, no, with another academic. At sabi niya, yun na nga, she was playing to her followers. And that's good.
Yeah.
But if you will be presidential, Cito, and I'm sure you will agree, I will not only play on the desires of my followers. Andyan na yan eh. Suportado na ako eh. Masyado na nga tayong divided. Mas gusto ko yung presidente na medyo unifying yung approach niya. Paano ka maging unifying? Nabanggit mo na nga, karamihan ng mga sinabi ng BP ginagawa na. Hindi ba pwedeng ang linyada mo nagsasuggest ka na mas maganda siguro, President Digong, dagdagan natin ng involvement ng private sector. Hindi yung at the outset babanatan mo bagsak na paano bagsak ang ekonomiya before the pandemic? And mind you, the economy of the whole world, we're now talking of contraction. We're no longer talking of just recession, not only in the Philippines but in the whole world. Tapos yun pa, no, kumbaga pag-iiniti, i-agitate mo pa. Sorry, ito, huli na. Dinagdagan mo yung...
No. You're right. Kasi, Edmund, my point is this, no? Parang as a communicator, as someone who was analyzing both persons, para bang yung ginawa ng mga tao ni VP Lenny was to show, this is a better model. This is in fact, yun nga yung mukhang yun yung pinupush sa social media. And I'm not anti or anyone, wala akong pinapanigan dito. Pero parang ang nangyari, eto si Digong, matanda, kung saan pumupunta yung mga sinasabi, matapang, nagmumura. Ito naman si BP Lenny, formal, polite, at structured yung kanyang presentation. But at the end of the day, if you're a Filipino citizen, you have to ask, to what goal? What do you want to achieve by making such a comparison?
Yeah, yun na nga eh. Una, Cito, kaya nga ina-emphasize ko, you want to be a unifying figure. If you want to be presidential, it's not only in the way you are going to address the public, address the nation, but it's also with the very substance of your message. No?
Nabanggit mo yung presidential. Would it be safe to assume na may mga taong nag-iisip na pumwesto na tayo at pumorma na tayo?
Marami na. Hindi lang last year pa nagsimula yan. Midterm election pa nga lang. Pinag-uusapan na. Alam mo, yun nga yung nakakalungkot dito sa atin. At yung konsepto natin ng politika, Cito, hindi yung konsepto ng politika na who gets what, when, where, and how. Kasi pagka yun ang definition natin ng politika, kabit na kabit yun sa policy making. No? Ang problema, ang konsepto natin ng politika, yung kampihan. So, partisanship lang ang idea ng politika. Hindi nga po ganun. No? Kaya, in other words, presidential, I don't want to go as far as personalities. No? Kasi alam din naman natin ng background na pareho silang abogado, no? At ano yung mga pinanggalingan nila before, no? There was a point, no? Just to give you an idea, the VP wanted to be appointed as a regional trial court judge, no? So to a certain extent, makikita mo doon, no? May mga libro pang nakalagay doon sa nung nag-deliver siya ng speech. Meron pang highlighter. So parang sinasabi niya, nagbabasa ako ng libro. But you know, at the end of the day, that's not, I mean, siguro kung maganda yung naging approach mo nga na presidential ka talaga, na hindi ka nakikipag-usap lang doon sa grupo mo, no? Kasi ito na lang, you want to be different, really substantially different from your counterpart. But you're being divisive and you're playing right into your own following is not being different from your counterpart.
Which brings me to my next question. Is it really about Lenny and Digong? Kasi parang, okay, nagpapagalingan silang dalawa, pero maraming nakaabang sa tagiliran eh. Meron akong alam na dalawang senador na naghahasa na ng labaha para pagtakbo ng kanilang presidential bill. Ano ka mo?
Dalawa lang ba?
Hindi. Yung, kumbaga, ito, dalawang noong pa nag-umpisa na. At panay-panay, araw-araw, nakikita mo papel ng papel sa pahayagan, sa television. Yung iba, close open eh. Pero, I'm just saying, ano ba ito? Sige, mag-ubusan na kayong dalawa. Pag napagod na, biglang, oops, aangat yung dalawa. Kami, nagtatrabaho, nag-iimbestiga, etc.
Yeah, of course, that's always part of the playbook of any presidential, no? And some of us might even be surprised. Baka meron din presidential na hindi natin inaasahan coming from the private sector. Bigla na lang lalaban, no? So, alam mo kasi, pag tinignan mo yung istorya ng presidential elections natin, at ang akala ng karamihan hindi nag-iisip ang mga botante. Siguro hindi nag-iisip in the same manner that you and I or someone who's really into politics and studying policies and everything. Siguro hindi ganoon ka-in-depth kasi siyempre may iba naman trabaho ang bawat isa sa atin. Pero nag-iisip pa mamayan. Pansinin mo kung meron mang pattern sa pagpili ng mga botante sa mga binoboto nila, whether senator or presidential candidate, ang madalas na pipili yung, for lack of a better term, outlier, yung pinaka-naiiba doon sa grupo. No? Kaya nanalo si Presidente Duterte. No? Alam naman natin ang istorya kung bakit nanalo si dating President Noynoy Aquino. Pero itong rule na naiiba, applicable doon sa pagkapangulo ni dating Pangulong GMA. To a certain extent, yung kay FBR, naiiba pa din siya. Makita mo, ang liit ng diferensya niya doon sa pumapangalawa sa kanya. No? So, sa madalit sabi, pag tinignan mo, Erat Estrada, for example, no? Ang hindi lang popular yung tao, pero makita mo na nung na-elect si Era, before that, the midterm election, doon nag-start yung pag-elect ng mga tao, ng mga artista. Kasi sabi ng mga botante siguro, mga binoboto natin, puro mga profesional, abogado, academic, ganyan nga, wala naman nangyari. subukan natin bumoto tayo ng artista, baka sakaling maganda ang magiging resulta. So parang ganon sa akin yung dating, no? At fast forward 2016, alam mo, pansinin mo din sa mga surveys, hindi na rin na-anticipate, no, sa mga exit poll. Sino ba mananalo? Nagsimula ito 2013. Sabi ng mga survey groups, number between 8 and 12, si Senator Grace Poe. Number 1 bigla. Kasi in a snap, no, the preference of the voter can change anytime.
Do you think that in the next election, kasi last question ko na lang, do you think that in the next election the same strategies, the same tools, yung mga ginamit yung survey, ginamit yung kapangyarihan, etc., o mababago ba ito because we now have the millennials coming in?
The same, Cito, to a certain extent, but the tools may be different. You mentioned that this pandemic, alam mo, apart from the vaccine, and this, I was hoping, no, that this was going to be mentioned by the Vice President also in her address to the nation, no? And let me correct some impressions that only the President is supposed to address the nation. No. The Vice President is also legitimately an official of the country. Number 2, no, to that effect, no? And she has every right to address the nation. So that's why pakinggan natin, no? Maging objective tayo, hindi yung ayaw natin to, so wag natin pakinggan. So, but I was hoping that she would have mentioned that apart from the vaccine, we should really ready ourselves already. Yung nga, napansin mo, no? Ngayon, pag on the internet, nakikita mo, yan ang reality mo, nakikita mo to. Pero yung buo, hindi mo nakikita yung reality. So, virtual, no? Yung reality ng nakikita na ngayon, whether millennials or whoever, hindi kumpleto yung reality.
Yeah.
So, yung labanan dito sa susunod na election, more on the virtual work rather than real work, kasi hindi ka na makaikot.
I think the one advantage though is by choice we can filter or be unfiltered. In any case, Professor, thank you very much for your morning. Sorry to impose upon you, and I hope you have a good day. Thank you very much, Prof.
Okay. Salamat po.
Okay, that's Professor Edmund Tayao of the Ateneo. From medyo tayo po ay mag-gap muna para magpatuloy sa ating pag-i-interview at ating pagtalakay sa mga ibang topics. Thank you very much, Professor Tayao. We will speak with Alan Tanjusay next after this quick break. Welcome back to Agenda, and bago po tayo magsimula, before we begin with our third and final interview, I'd like to just greet some of the people who have been sending messages to Agenda. Pasensya na po kayo, please bear with me if I am unable to respond kasi po ako po ay houseboy na, labandero pa, kusinero pa, at ako po ay mag-isa. Tapos sumusulat pa tayo ng column 3 times a week, ginagawa natin yung programa, and I also do preaching, online preaching from time to time. So pagpasensyahan nyo na po. And dun sa inyo mga nagtataka, preacher ka mo, bakit nagmumura? Hindi naman po ako nagmumura. Ina-identify ko lang, I am just labeling them for what they are. Kasi meron nga nagtanong sa akin yan hindi ba bad word yung stupid? Sabi ko, can you please look at it in the dictionary so you understand that it is not a curse word, it is an adjective or it is a label. In any case, good morning to Iya Santos, Odette Chongbian, yung aming kapitbahay daw dito sa Barrio Capitolio, Ray Balena, Genevieve Mercadal, thank you for your notes. Ramon Orbida, Mon, pagpatuloy mo lang yung interest mo sa pagko-composting. Malay mo, baka ikaw yung maging next multimillionaire dyan sa Pasig dahil lang sa basura. And then, Dada, thank you for your message. Minantok, thank you for message. Opat Hermano at si Salve Madriaga and si Edgardo Bartolo, you've all been kind enough, gracious enough to send me message. Pakiusap lang po, no? If you would acknowledge our work, please don't encourage us to be negatively critical. Please don't encourage us to make banat, to make mura, to make hampas, palo, tadyak, sipa. Wag po, no? Encourage us to bring out the truth, to have the courage to address the truth, because and please do not praise me kasi alam ninyo madami na hong nadadapa dahil sa mga papuri-papuri na yan. Trabaho lang po ito, no? In any case, let's go to our next guest. Ang ating pong bisita ngayon ay National Spokesperson and Policy Advocacy Officer of Associated Labor Unions, Trade Union Congress of the Philippines. He is also a former journalist. Let's bring in Alan Tanjusay. Alan, good morning.
Good morning, Cito, at sa ating mga kababayang nakikinig at nanonood. Magandang umaga.
Okay, good morning, Alan. Medyo pakibigyan naman kami ng update. Ano ba ang kalagayan ng mga obrero, laborers, manggagawa sa Pilipinas? Kasi puro na lang kami front page ang nakikita namin, hindi na realidad. Lalo, alam mo, lalo na ako, sobrang bata ako sa'yo, hindi ako bawal ako lumabas.
Sito, majority ng mga workers, working people, are struggling to make both ends meet, no?
Mm-hmm.
Struggling to cope from poverty. At of course, itong bagong phenomenon ng coronavirus disease, talagang malaking factor ito sa kanila. So merong fear of infection, especially sa mga breadwinner ng pamilya. Kasi kapag yung breadwinner infected, ang laking problema, ang laking impact sa pamilya, no? Ang laking impact sa loob ng tahanan, sa mga bata, sa gawain sa loob sa bahay, at higit sa lahat yung livelihood. So
kasi alam mo, may mga napipick up tayong balita, yung sa survey, 45.5% daw ang unemployment survey, no? Kagabi may kausap ako, hindi ko lang masabi yung pangalan ng shipping line. Napakalaking shipping. Actually, sila tigalagay sila, yung ano man tawag doon, yung nag-crew, nagbibigay ng mga
manning agency.
Manning agency. Malaki shipping line at saka manning agency. Abay, sabi nung contact ko, Kuyang, baka wala na akong trabaho next week. Sabi ko, bakit naman? Marami sa amin nare-redundancy na at saka kasi dati ang aming inaasikasong portfolio, yung mga accounts, 36,000. Ngayon 16,500 na lang. So kalahati ng staff we're told na sorry, mag-retire na kayo. Sa mga contacts mo ba sa mga nasasakupan ninyo, kasi hindi ba may association kayo, ilang porsyento ang nawala ng trabaho?
Marami dito sa aming because we're organizing unions, and we're also organizing associations, mga cooperatives. Mostly majority nito ay mga manggagawa. So I don't have the exact number now, but ang dami. Meron pa kami kahapon nga pagkatapos ng aming meeting kahapon, merong local union kaming nakuha at nag-report sa amin. Ang sabi nila sir, 3 times a month na lang kami papasok sa trabaho. So ito yung instructions sa kanila ng management. At ito po yung agriculture sector. So massive itong survey ng SWS na almost half of the working people, a Filipino workforce, are without a job, no? So this is unprecedented at kinakailangan talaga siguro ng whole of government approach.
Siyempre, yung mga hinahawakan ninyo ay mga formal, 'di ba? Formal working sector. Paano naman, Alan, yung mga excuse me, yung mga bata? Kasi noon ko pa, ilang buwan ko nang pinagpipit-pitan yan medyo tengang kawali lang yung mga nasa gobyerno. Sabi ko na itong mga 18 to 21 o 18 to 20, dapat hanapan natin ng paraan na makapagtrabaho at makalabas ng bahay kasi malaki rin ang contribution nila sa ekonomiya, sa pamilya nila at sa lipunan. Kayo ba, meron ba kayong engagements with them? Meron ba kayong nasasagap na impormasyon sa kalagayan itong mga kabataan na ito?
Yes, dito po sa mga feedback ng aming mga young members o yung mga young union members, most of them are millennials, no? Kapag kami pinoprocess namin yung information, yung tinatawag nating youth unemployment, pinoprocess namin yan internally at gumagawa kami ng education information drive. Know what is this animal, what are we going to do about it, and ano bang approach na gagawin namin. So very trending itong tinatawag nating unemployment among the youth, Cito, dahil papunta sila doon sa isang tinatawag nating new economy. So meron tayong service sector, service industry, manufacturing industry, agriculture industry. So meron panibago na gumagawa yung youth workforce natin. Ito yung tinatawag nating gig economy. O ito yung tinatawag na digital workforce, o ito yung mga tinatawag nating online. It's because of the internet age, no? So doon sila papunta sa sektor na yon, ang tinatawag na gig economy. So but doon sa gig economy, sa aming monitoring, parang race to the bottom. Dahil walang rules, walang policy ng gobyerno at free for all ang sitwasyon dito sa gig economy. So kapag sila ay papunta doon, tinatawag silang mga independent contractors, mga freelancer,
talent,
mga talent, yan. So napaka-vulnerable ng ganitong klaseng working conditions.
Matanong, go ahead.
So nagmamadali ang ating House and Senate. In fact, very massive yung mga meetings regarding to discuss a policy to govern this gig economy sa Senate as House as of now.
Okay, matanong ko lang, and sana naman wag mo masamain, Alan, kasi ito talaga walang mali siyang pagtatanong to. Pero kayo sa mga unions, kasi sabi mo you organize labor unions, etc. Meron pa ba kayong puwersa? Well, I don't know if that's the right word. Do you still have the ability to influence employers now? Kasi parang ang naging sitwasyon ngayon ng karamihan, pasalamat kang may trabaho ka pa. So, ano ngayon ang nangyayari sa inyong mga mga union organizers, yung mga representatives, para ba kayong nawalan na ng saysay ngayon, or what's your role and how are you performing now?
Yes, when it comes to the old paradigm, yung expectations na may union power, to influence our government, to influence our business people, dwindling dwindling by the day ang union power. But we're trying to create a new kind of power, no? By organizing the millennials and by doing other things. Among these are, one, we engage the government sa policy discussion. Nagpa-participate kami sa mga policy discussion, drafting of regulations para maging inclusive at walang may iwan. Ganon din Cito. Separately, we are having a bipartite relationship, very active. We are fortunate na medyo open ang mga employers and business groups. We also engage them sa mga discussions. Kaya lang, may qualifications. May mga issues na medyo hotly contested doon sa pagkaharap na namin yung mga business and employers. May mga
Katulad
issues
ng
na, number one, wages.
Okay.
Kasi of course, we will push for higher wages kasi we will show them that the quality wages now is very low and very meager. So, very sensitive sa kanila yan. Although naka-park yung discussion, we pursue other discussions na pwede kaming mag-move forward together.
Okay, you mentioned a massive meetings, consultations with both houses of Congress. Where are you getting are you getting anything from it? Kasi natatandaan ko noon, meron daw silang ilalabas na batas na yung new normal bill, worker safety, etc. Pero parang biglang anyari.
Yes, generally ang aming bit-bit diyan when it comes to engaging our Congress and our Senate, ang aming principles ay kailangan merong fixed income. Meron tayong standards sa wages, merong dapat social protection, merong security of tenure, at saka merong guarantees of occupational safety and health. Ito yung mga principles na ginagamit namin in participation of policies and regulations. But may mga forces din sa kabilang side, yung mga business, no? Of course, maglalabihan sila na meron din silang agenda. Meron din kaming agenda. So at the end of the day, may mga rules and regulation, mga batas, mga Republic Act talaga na lumalabas. At the end, hindi siya yung byproduct na favorable talaga sa mga manggagawa. So, ganyan talaga siguro Cito yung democratic process natin. Sa una, very optimistic kami sa mga discussion. Word for word, line by line, paragraph by paragraph, sentence by sentence yung aming discussion sa mga paggawa ng mga batas na yan. Pero along the way, may mga forces may mga naglalabi behind our congressmen, may naglalabi behind our senators, o in fact, yung mga congressman mismo, sila na mismo may mga negosyo, may mga manning agencies sila, may mga people, may mga malalaki silang negosyo, at saka may mga donor at contributor sila sa campaign na talagang malalaki yung mga negosyo. So,
karamihan sa kanila may hotel. Maliit man sa probinsya, may hotel, merong restaurant, may resort. Pagkatapos yung sa kanila yung mga kanila yung mga van, yung mga trucking. Pero ano ba ang sitwasyon ngayon ng mga manggagawa? Ano ba ito? Magpasalamat ka ng may trabaho kumbaga sige, magtiis na muna tayo habang COVID-19. Pagkatapos natapos na itong COVID-19 sa 2021 o 2022, sabay bawi at bugbugan na naman sa picket line?
Yes, most likely ganito ngayon ang sitwasyon Cito sa among across industry, sa manufacturing, sa service sector, sa agriculture sector. Ganyan talaga yung mindset, especially ng mga management at ng mga business owners na talagang wala munang in fact, sinasabihan yung aming isang local union na isuspende muna natin yung nakaschedule na increase dun sa collective bargaining agreement. Kasi may nakaschedule eh. 5 years yung collective bargaining agreement and this 2020, hindi naman na-anticipate na may COVID, pero merong nakaschedule na increase eh. So, sinususpende yung mga scheduled increase, yung mga benefits at talagang wala na hindi na kami humihirit ng wage increase at mga dagdag na benepisyo at we understand the situation at but palagi naming nire-remind yung mga business owners, mga employers na kapag gumanda na economy, siguro naman baka pwede na kaming humirit na ibalik yung mga dating natatanggap na ng mga manggagawa, yung mga benepisyo at baka pwede na kaming humirit ng wage increase.
Okay, so only when COVID-19 is out of the picture, doon pwede na. So pansamantala, ano naman ang nagagawa ng inyong mga samahan para din sa mga apektado na yan? Kasi alam ko yung government, they're trying to release yung mga small salaries support, etc., sa DOLE, etc. Sa mga labor unions ba and mga labor organizations, meron bang nabibigay na ayuda o lahat kayo salat kasi wala rin namang contribution yung mga members ninyo?
Marami kaming mga there are a variety of ways na tumutulong kami sa mga members. Number one, merong information education drive sa kanila kapag may mga programa ang gobyerno. Ang SSS, binababa sa amin, for example, ng Pag-ibig, SSS, PhilHealth, binababa sa amin yung information. At kami naman, dinidisseminate namin sa mga members namin para paano ma-avail, ano yung mga requirements, ano yung mga qualifications, at kung sino yung makakuha ng government help. Ikalawa, nagko-conduct kami dito ng mga webinars among our members kasi psychologically, apektado talaga yung mga manggagawa ngayon, no? Bukod sa takot na mawala ng trabaho, sa takot na mawala ng income, source of livelihood, natatakot sila na mahawa sila at magkasakit. So psychologically, ang daming equation sa isip nila na dapat talagang kahit papaano ma-mitigate o ma-address ito. So psychologically, meron kami interventions. And of course, financially, meron kaming mga tulong kapag may mga naapektuhan yung mga union members namin. At ang isa sa mga challenges nga ngayon ay itong naakusahan yung aming mga union members at mga union organizers na communist. So itong threat din, very very real threat sa amin. At napagkakamalang kaming mga komunista o terorista.
Ayun, napag-usapan namin kanina ni Chel Diokno at sila Chel parang yung cost-benefit analysis ayaw na nilang patulan. Yung sabi ko, pag napatunayan kayong inosente, dapat buweltahan ninyo yung mga nag-akusa sa inyo ng hindi totoo. Kayo ba sa mga union, sa ginagawa ba ninyo yan? Kasi parang napaka-ordinaryo na yun na may mag-akusa at mag-file ng kaso para lang mamerwisyo.
Yes, minsan may mga sinister na miyembro ng hanay ng management talagang inuudyukan yung may-ari ng company to do this, to do that, no? Hindi namin talaga mahirap pigilan 'yon. So, what we do is we coordinate with the PNP, we communicate often with the AFP, with the intelligence community. Nagko-communicate kami sa kanila na ito yung ginagawa namin, ito yung trabaho namin. At ikalawa, ang problema nito Cito, mabilis ang transition kasi lalong-lalo na sa mga officers sa PNP, nagpapalit often ng mga official. So kapag ikaw ay nag-conduct na ng orientation, nagpakilala ka na doon sa Chief of Police, 6 months later, iba na naman ang Chief Police. So iba na naman pakilala ka na naman. Another thing is may mga gustong bumida, no? Siguro gusto mag-promote o gusto magpakilala, gumagawa ng mga unitary actions at hindi na inintindi yung batas at nagsasagawa ng mga raid, nagsasagawa ng mga harassment. Minsan hindi na totoo naman ito at palagi naman itong nangyari kahit noon pa, yung ginagamit ng management, yung PNP o yung mga barangay to harass union members.
Kumbaga magsasabi, maggagawa ng kwento kahit na hindi totoo.
Oh, in
Ayun.
fact, meron kaming kaso dito sa Central Luzon na isang mayor hinaharas yung mga union namin at mga union members dahil na-discover namin na siya palang may-ari ng mga contractors o yung mga manning agency na nagsusupply sa isang malaking bag manufacturer dyan sa Central Luzon.
Okay. Chicken mo, baka sa bungero rin para mahanap natin kung nasaan yung kanyang farm at mabigay natin kay Secretary Anyo. Kasi dami ko nang nahuli na ganyan eh. Nagtatayo ng farm kung saan-saan pagkatapos mamemerwisyo. In any case, Alan, last question, kamusta naman yung mental state ng ating mga manggagawa? Kasi I think ito Secretary Guevara na humingi na ng tulong sa simbahan tungkol sa mga suicides. Kayo ba sa hanay ninyo, kamusta naman yung mga laborer natin, ang mga members ng mga inyong union?
In as far as sa mga members namin, salamat sa Diyos at kahit papaano wala kaming reports talaga na merong worse conditions na suicides or other worse psychological conditions.
Okay.
So far, wala ho kaming natatanggap at kahit papaano patuloy yung aming mga seminars sa kanila and interventions.
Okay. Sige Alan, maraming salamat sa iyong mga paglilinaw at least maintindihan ng mga nanonood na marami ng pagbabago, adjustments ang ginagawa ang mga labor unions, mga associations katulad ninyo at talagang tiis lang muna tayo hanggang mawala na itong virus na ito. Thank you very much, Alan Tanjusay.
Maraming salamat, Cito. Magandang umaga.
Okay, yan po si Ginoong Alan Tanjusay ng Associated Labor Unions Trade Union Congress of the Philippines. Okay, we basically finished the show. I just want to share something that I read in the Bible this morning. It is from the book of Ezekiel, I think it was chapter 4. Hindi ko na babasahin yung verse itself, no? Pero it was very interesting because it was a point in the history of the Israelites na nagalit sa kanilang Panginoon at pinaparusahan sila ng Panginoon. Tapos nung nagkwekwentahan na ng atraso, sinabi ng Panginoon sa kanila, in addition to your many sins, ay nagpapasok kayo sa aking altar, sa aking temple, ng mga hindi tuli at mga hindi naniniwala. Baka sabihin nyo, si Kuya Cito naman ginamit yung salitang tuli. Marami sa inyo nagpapatuli, hindi niyo alam kung bakit. Ang pagpapatuli po ito ay covenant with man and God. Na kung ikaw tuli, sinasabi mo, Lord, I am one of your chosen people. Okay? In any case, the point was, the people who were in charge of the altar, in charge of the temple itself, were selected. Kumbaga, may kanya-kanya kayong assignment. Much like all of us. We have our own giftings, we have our own assignments, we have our own ministry, and we have our own, kumbaga, cases. May kanya-kanya tayong caseload. Huwag nyo pong iaatang, ide-delegate or ipapagawa o magbabayad kayo sa ibang tao para gawin yung sinabi ni Lord, ikaw ang gumawa. Whether it is to teach your children, it is to clean up your community or do something. If the Lord emphasized upon you to do a particular task or you made a commitment to the Lord to do a certain ministry, don't pay someone else to do it. Because that chapter in Ezekiel clearly said it. Ito atraso. Yung hindi dapat pumasok dito, pinapasok nyo para gawin yung trabaho ninyo. Let's all do our part. Let's all do our jobs. Let's all follow our own path. Huwag po tayong humanap ng replacement o proxy because it is not going to go well with us. Thank you for joining us here on Agenda. I'm Cito Beltran. God bless you. Have a great day.